that shows screen.
Okay. Is it showing now?
Yes, it is.
Excellent.
Yep.
Good evening. We will wait 1 more minute for more attendees to sign in, and then we will start our broadcast. Hello. Welcome to the Keep Safe Personal Safety and MyForce webinar. My name is Barb Geldelman, and I'll be your technical producer and moderator this evening. This webinar will be presented by Marla Williams, Director of Education and Training for Kappa Kappa Gamma, and will feature Wes Boyd, MyForce Vice President. Our goals tonight are to share with you some personal safety tips, acquaint you with MyForce to improve your personal safety, and to share with you Kappa Kappa Gamma's relationship with MyForce. Before we start the presentation, let's take a moment to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the webinar control panel. On the right side of your screen, you will see the attendee control panel, and on the left is the webinar viewer window. This viewer window will display the presenter's screen when the webinar begins. The control panel can be minimized or expanded by clicking on the horizontal double arrow button in the upper left corner. Minimizing the panel allows a better view of the presentation. Take a moment to practice. There are a few features of the control panel that you should know. First, be familiar with the Raise Your Hand button. This button is located along the left side of the control panel. It allows you to virtually raise your hand if you have a question or if you want to respond to a question being asked by the presenter. Click this button to raise your hand now. Clicking again will lower your hand. Another important feature of the control panel is the questions pane. To submit a question, type it into the question box. These may be questions related to the presentation or technical questions related to the GoWebinar system. You may also be asked by the presenter to type your ideas or responses here as part of an exercise during the webinar. Please send a quick note in your questions pane now. Please know that questions may be submitted at any time, and these will be monitored, and we will try to respond quickly if we see something that shouldn't wait until the Q&A period, such as making a clarification. During the webinar, you may be asked to respond to a polling question or survey. Please take the time to participate, as your input and ideas are valuable to the group. Be sure to stay attentive and to interact as much as possible during this webinar. The quality of your experience depends on your attention and participation. Try to avoid the distractions of responding to email, checking Facebook, instant messaging, or working on other tasks at your computer. If you need to step away for a moment, do not close the GoToWebinar window, as you will be required to log in again if you wish to rejoin the session. If you experience problems with the audio, one possible solution is to use the conference call number and listen to the presentation using your phone. Click the Use Telephone option in the audio pane of your control panel to view the conference call number. The webinar is being recorded, and the online archive will be available to view on the Kappa website in approximately 2 weeks. Are there any questions? Seeing that we have no questions at This time I would now like to change the virtual microphone to Marla Williams.
Thanks so much, Barb. All right.
You are welcome, Marla.
All right. Welcome, everyone. So tonight we are planning on covering a general personal safety assessment, just kind of getting you thinking a little bit about your personal safety. Then I'm going to be sharing some brief campus and community safety tips, talking a little bit about internet safety, and then you'll be hearing a presentation by Wes Boyd about MyForce and about the partnership that Kappa Kappa Gamma has entered into with MyForce, and our hopes that you can utilize MyForce for enhancing your personal safety. So what I'd like you to do, I would like you to use your hand-raising feature on your participant panel. And the very first question I have is, I would like you to raise your hand if. So the very first one is, during vacation, you post photos and status updates on social media. So take a minute and raise your hand if you post photos and status updates on social media when you are on vacation. You can go ahead and place your hand down. So a couple tips with this. While it's really tempting to share your vacation enjoyment with friends and family when you are on vacation, you really do want to think about when you post on social media that you are actually advertising the fact that you are away from home or away from your living space. While we might want employers, close friends, and relatives to know that we're going to be away and how to reach us, we don't necessarily want to advertise our plans to the world. Criminals can take advantage of empty homes, dorms, and people on vacation. So just something to think about. Sort of a tip that I try and give people is, save some of those photos and things and post them when you return from vacation, saying what a wonderful time you had and sharing those photos then. All right, next one. Raise your hand if you feel that you should change plans or directions if something doesn't feel right. Raise your hand if you agree with that statement, with that question. Should you change plans, directions if something doesn't feel right? Raising your hand if you agree with that. You can go ahead and place your hand down. So I'm a big person on trusting instincts. And if you are having an odd feeling or an uncomfortable feeling based on your gut instinct, our advice is that you do trust those instincts. Typically, if you have those feelings, something just might not be right. And it's better to be safe than sorry. And even if it means that somebody is inconvenienced or maybe you end up looking a little silly because you changed plans, changed directions, etc., it's better to trust that gut instinct. All right, next one. Raise your hand if you give out personal information to companies or people over the phone. Raise your hand if you give out personal information to companies or people over the phone. Okay, and go ahead and place your hand down. So while almost everybody does it, we'll call and we'll ask companies and make solicited calls to others. You want to think about the personal information that you give. If you have been the person to reach out, call a particular company or individual, and you are the person that is reaching out, typically you have hopefully done research and verified that that is a correct number, it's a correct website, etc. However, if it is unsolicited and somebody reaching out to you, it might be through your email, it might be through the phone, I would never give out personal information to anyone that I had not solicited directly and requested an interaction with them. And still, even when you do seek out a number or seek out a company or a person, you definitely want to verify that the information is correct before you are sharing any type of personal information. All right, next question. Raise your hand if you talk or play the radio while driving. Okay, I see a couple of hands going up. All right, place your hands down. So again, this is something, I'm going to raise my hand. Have I talked on the phone while I'm driving? Absolutely. Have I played the radio while I'm driving? Absolutely. While everybody does it, it's still something to take into consideration and recognize that both of these actions do increase your chance of being in an accident. So whenever possible, avoid taking or making calls when you're driving, and definitely don't let the radio or passengers in the car take your attention away from the road. All right, last one. Raise your hand if you agree with this. If someone is threatening you and tries to take you to a second location, you should go with them and do whatever they say to stay safe. So raise your hand if you agree with that statement, that if someone is threatening you and tries to take you to another location, you should absolutely go with them and do whatever they say to stay safe. All right, and then put your hand down if you had your hand raised. So this is a really important tip to know about. While you may want to avoid a scene or be afraid of making an attacker angry, you should never, ever agree to go with someone to a second location that is threatening you. Your odds of being severely injured or even killed are significantly increased when a victim is taken to a second location. You should run, fight, do anything you can to escape the situation. So thank you for playing along a little bit with our little personal safety assessment. I could have gone on for pages with different questions to ask, but this is just sort of something to get you thinking about your own personal safety and the choices that you make in your daily life. All right, a couple of things to think about in terms of campus and community safety tips. The very first is know the safe places where you live, work, and play. Identify police stations, fire stations, hospitals, and open businesses where it is safe. If you frequently walk in certain areas of your community, do you know where the safe places are? Do you know where you could go for help that would be safe? Walk in safe areas. Walk in well-lighted, well-traveled streets. Don't take shortcuts through wooded areas, parking lots, or dark alleys. Be aware of your surroundings. If someone is walking behind you or approaching you, make eye contact with them. Walk with your key in your hand and the key blade forward. Be aware of cars parked next to yours. And if you do think someone is following you, switch directions or cross the street. Know who to call for help. Know those campus security numbers, the 911 calls. Be aware of those emergency numbers. Don't walk home late at night alone. Be aware of surroundings by your car. Get in quickly and lock the doors immediately. Secure valuables in your purse. If you carry a purse or a wallet, keep them close to your body or hidden in an inside pocket. Don't carry large sums of money with you. It's a good idea to have a second wallet or purse containing only enough money for the evening and nothing else. Do this when you know you will not need a driver's license, credit cards, or other forms of personal identification. Secure your home. Make sure you lock your doors. Secure your valuables. Keep them from being visible. Time your lights. Make sure that when you have computers or electronic equipment visible, that it's not visible out through windows and to the street or out into hallways. Trust your instincts, like we talked about earlier. If you feel uncomfortable, get away to safety. And be prepared. Take a personal defense class. Have a plan. If someone were to try and take you, what would you do? Do you have a plan? A couple things about internet safety. CAPA wants you to be savvy about social media and the information you choose to share. There have unfortunately been several situations where people have posed as someone that they were not and tried to get information from women through CAPA, claiming they were certain roles within CAPA. So be aware of who you're talking to through social media. Understand that the internet keeps a digital record of you. Be aware of what you share, and nothing is truly private on the internet. Choose a variety of strong passwords. This is really important. You might even consider using an app like Password Keeper. There's a ton out there right now that will help you keep track of all the passwords, because if you're anything like me, I have 1,100,000,000 passwords floating around in my brain, and trying to keep track of them is often difficult. Protect your identity, like we talked about in the personal safety assessment. Be aware of the personal information that you share, such as your address, name, ages, photos, social security number. Be careful about pictures and videos that you post. Make sure that you're not actually sharing information such as location to others. Don't take a picture of yourself in front of the dorm building that you live in front of the university sign that identifies you directly. You know, be smart about what you post. Stay up to date on antivirus software on the computer, and beware of using the internet and devices in public. It's amazing how quickly people can find passwords out by just watching what you're doing. And sometimes some computers in public arenas save passwords from your use. And don't assume anything. Don't blindly accept that someone is who they say they are on the internet or social media. So again, like I said, there have been, unfortunately, examples that we've had in the past couple of years where people have posed as individuals through CAPA and tried to solicit information from members. So now I would like to turn the screen over to Wes Boyd. He's going to be talking to you about MyForce. It is a wonderful partnership that CAPA has entered into, and we're really excited to share this opportunity with our members. So I'm going to change the screen to Wes.
Okay, thank you, Marla. I appreciate it. And everyone should be seeing a slide that has MyForce and has the Kappa Kappa Gamma letters on it. Well, thank you. Marla, thank you. Those were some great tips and a lot of good things to think about. It would be ideal if we lived in a world where we didn't have to give attention to personal safety, but that isn't the world we live in. It's a great world, but there are things that we just have to be smart about in order to protect ourselves and to protect those we love. And MyForce is a tool that we have partnered with Kappa Kappa Gamma, and I'd like to share with you what MyForce does and how it might just be an enhanced way for you to protect yourself. It's a personal security, or we would call it a personal mobile bodyguard. And, of course, the idea is that it secures what matters most, which is you. So let's get into just some of the realities of the world we do live in. And, you know, the truth of the matter is that most of us, if not all of us, when we wake up in the morning, we don't think something bad could happen to us. We don't plan for that. If anything ever were to happen, quite often it's a surprise. And so it's important to know that giving thought to some of the tips and things that Marla went through and what you'd be able to do with MyForce is really about just in case. It's just in case something bad were to happen. You want to increase the odds that you will have personal safety just in case. Hopefully nothing ever bad will happen to any of you. But MyForce is another tool that can provide a way for you to increase your odds. I mentioned some of the statistics. As you can see here, you know, there's about 330 Americans, and about 40 million Americans are victimized in some way and bullied at home or at school or on the street, and that's very normal every year. This is a stat that you see in the media quite often, that 1 in 4 college-age women will experience an attempted or a completed attack or rape during their college career, and these are the ones that are actually reported. That's a very sobering number, very sobering. We know that all ages of women, about 1 in 3 women, have experienced some form of assault, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner during their lifetime, and that is the key. Most of the time, usually it's someone that they know who carries out the assault. It's more often that it's someone you know versus just a complete stranger. And I think this last point, which often is a surprise for people, is that the same is true for about 1 in 4 men, and those statistics are going up. So our app and service, which we're going to walk through this evening, is something that not only women but men can use, and we're going to invite you to share this with your family, parents, siblings, anyone that you have a relationship with is going to be able to take advantage of the opportunity that we'll be presenting. Now, whenever there is a danger, whenever we do feel like there's an emergency, the normal protocol is to call 911. And 911 quite often works just fine. But it doesn't always work. And there have been a lot of articles on a lot of news media recently about some of the shortcomings and outages of 911. What I want to focus on is what happens in the situation. Obviously, when you call 911, you say who you are, you try to explain where you are, what the situation is. You want to stay calm, speak loud and clearly, but what if you're under duress or you're threatened and it's hard to know where you are, or maybe you don't remember where you are? What if you're being followed and you don't want someone near to even know that you're seeking help? Perhaps calling 911 might escalate a situation, especially if you can't speak or you need to be discreet. What if you don't know your location? What if you don't have time to talk? Things are moving quickly. And really, what if you don't really have control of the situation that you're in? Those are all areas where calling 911 can be cumbersome. It can be potentially difficult. And sadly, there are plenty of cases, and this has also been in the news a lot, where 911 simply has failed people. 911 cannot do a sufficient job quite often of locating you. We call it geolocating. And this is just one sad example where Denise Amber Lee called 911, and it was a quick incident, and she was they weren't able to do anything in any kind of timing that would have potentially saved her. In fact, there's quite a movement, as you can see, to ask the FCC to pass legislation to improve location accuracy with 911. It's a potential shortcoming. So we would propose that MyForce is a much more comprehensive, easy-to-use solution than calling 911. I'd like to show you a quick video that will give you just a brief overview of what is MyForce and how it works.
MyForce is a personal security service that lives on my smartphone. My personal bodyguard I take with me wherever I go. With MyForce, I never walk alone. Whether I'm out jogging, walking to my car at night, taking public transportation, when I'm concerned enough to send an alert, I can do so with an easy touch of a button. On the other end, the MyForce team starts listening. My phone goes black, but they're listening, recording, pinpointing my exact location with GPS, and pulling all my information, instantly notifying emergency responders, and giving them all the information they need to come right by aid.
Okay, that's a brief overview, and we will come back to the offer that we have put in place for Kappa Kappa Gamma. Let me just emphasize just a few things that she said in here. You know, in any type of situation where you potentially might be under duress, whether it's a real emergency or even in situations where you just don't feel comfortable, perhaps you're in a parking garage or you're using public transportation or you're walking from the library to where you live in the evening. MyForce is a simple, easy way to just increase your odds for safety. It's very simple. You download the app. It's free to download. And usually you would want to put it on the home page, if you will, of your smartphone. And then it's real simple. Whenever you're in that situation, again, whether it's a real emergency or you're just nervous about the situation you're in, all you do is push the button on your phone, and it instantly connects with our back end. We have live agents who are available 24/7. It works in all 50 states in the United States plus Canada, and includes Hawaii and Puerto Rico. And they're there to listen and record what's going on in your environment. The other thing that happens, in addition to them listening to what's going on in your environment, is the GPS feature in your phone tells us where you are. And as long as you are on the line, we're able to pinpoint with great accuracy your location. And if your location changes and you're moving, we're able to follow that. So the real key thing here is that it's a very simple way, it's a very simple app, but it's quite robust in what it can do. It works for all the major smartphone operating systems, including the iPhone and the Android and the BlackBerry. And really, the secret sauce, if you will, the thing that makes MyForce work so well is that we have our own independent monitoring and tracking call center. This is the back end that vets every situation when a user pushes the button. It's going to connect with our call center. And this really is what makes MyForce so unique and work so effectively versus other options. Our particular call center has been awarded the 5 Diamond Security Certification on the Central Station Alarm Association, and we're UL listed. In fact, we're rated every year based on our capabilities and the professionalism and the overall quality of our back-end call center. And we typically rate in the top 2% of all monitoring and alert call centers. So we've invested significant dollars in developing this back-end capability to vet all of the situations. Now, what you're looking at now on the screen, this is what our people would be viewing if you had pushed the button. When you register as a MyForce subscriber, you'll be asked to fill out some information. It's completely voluntary, but the more information you provide, the better we'll be able to serve you, and if indeed emergency responders were needed to move to come help you, this is the key screen of information that would help. And you can see in this example, we have a student from the University of Denver. She's given us her picture, which is very, police and emergency responders say this is one of the most important things, that they can have a visual of who you are, a phone number. If you have any known safety issues, you can put them on there. I've got a stalking order against some guy. Any health issues, you know, if you have a peanut allergy and you're having a reaction, and that's a very dangerous health situation, that's good to know. Your physical description, emergency contact information, and your location. The map that you see here in the center, this is the GPS readout. This shows us where you are, and it updates every 15 seconds. So as I said, the accuracy of the GPS readout gets better and better as the longer you're on the line. And this really, as you can imagine, is what significantly would help emergency responders get to you quicker and cut some of the valuable time if indeed you are in an emergency and needing help. And then finally, our MyForce team can even communicate with campus security if the incident happens to be on the campus, or the police, or whoever the emergency responders are, and they take good notes. You own all of this information as a MyForce subscriber. Now, most of the time, in fact, really about 80% of the time, our subscribers hit the button. They're doing so appropriately because they're in a situation where they just want to be careful, just in case. It's not a real emergency, and that's fine. We actually encourage our users to use MyForce in those situations. When you're in that type of a situation, say you're in a parking garage and you're walking across the parking garage at night, you would push the button. Our team would listen to you. They would record what's going on. They would know where you are and who you are. But let's say you get to your car and you shut the door and you lock the car and you're safe. Very simple to, in a sense, cancel an alert. You just enter a 4-digit PIN number that you would have signed up during registration. And then just to be safe, as a redundant safety measure, our team will call you, and much like your home alarm, they'll call you to make sure everything is okay, and they'll ask you for your safety word, very similar to how you would answer a phone call regarding your home alarm. So again, we want to make absolutely sure that if indeed it's a false alarm, that it is a false alarm and there's not something going on. Let's say that you were under duress, for example, and you were forced to enter the 4-digit PIN. You could give a false safety word to our call center when they call you, and that would instantly notify them to send emergency responders. So there are a lot of safety measures that are built into this. And so MyForce really does work. It is, as we've talked about, some great advantages over 911. There are plenty of safety apps out there. The difference, though, is that MyForce has with dedicated professional responders, an independent monitoring and alarm center. You can use it before a crisis, which is important, and it does a lot of great things. One more comparison versus 911 that we think is really important is, number one, MyForce really is a fully comprehensive solution. It only takes one click. You don't have to dial 3 numbers. And MyForce allows you to utilize the accurate location information via your GPS feature on your smartphone. 911 doesn't really have that, and when it does, it's relying on cell towers, and it can be rather inaccurate. MyForce provides first responders critical information that you would have uploaded when you register. And this is what law enforcement and other emergency responders have told us are very helpful to them to be able to react quicker. So the system works great, and it's an up-to-date, comprehensive safety solution that we obviously highly recommend. We have established a significant discount. In fact, it's a 30% discount for Kappa Kappa Gamma members and family members and friends. That equates to be about $9.99 per month. And this is just a slide to ask the question, how important is it to, in a sense, protect a life? You've got all these entertainment, nice-to-have subscriptions that typically can be anywhere from $8 to $30 a month. But if you look at some of the need-to-have services with electricity and water bill and things like that, MyForce is a terrific value, particularly with the 30% discount that we offer Kappa Kappa Gamma. So here is how you can try risk-free MyForce. Is we offer a 30-day free trial. If you go to www.kkg.myforce.com, and it gives you 30-day free trial to try it for yourself, to use it as much as you want. There's no limit to how often you can use the service and push the button whenever you feel like you need it. You have that. So it's a 30-day free trial. And then after that free trial, if you choose to continue, then you get the discounted rate of $9.99 a month. Or if you sign up for an annual subscription, it's $99.99 per year, which works out to be about $8.33 per month. So there are savings by setting up or subscribing annually. Marla, that's the overview for MyForce.
Great. Thank you so much, Wes. What we wanted to do, well, actually, Barb, I'll let you go ahead and talk about question time.
We do have 2 questions, and here they are. So there are no consequences for pushing the MyForce button too often, and should I only use it when I think I'm in danger?
Good question. Yes, there's no additional charges when you push the button. So you are free to use MyForce in any situation where you are uncomfortable and you don't like the setting that you're in. And again, it's just in case. In a way, it's like insurance. You pay a monthly insurance premium, and it's there if you need it. And that's certainly how MyForce works. So there's no additional charge. And as we said, one of the great benefits of MyForce versus 911 or even some of the other apps where perhaps you push a button and it sends a text to your circle of friends or family, you typically wouldn't use that unless it was a real emergency. And as I said before, about 80% of the time, our subscribers push the button. There's not a real emergency. They just want to be careful in the environment that they're in. And we welcome them to do it as often as they need to.
Okay. At this time, I do not see any other questions.
You know what? I just saw one that just came in, Barb.
Okay.
It is, I just was able to pull it up a second ago. I'm asking if MyForce is available internationally.
Good question. We are currently, as I mentioned, in all 50 states. We are available in Canada, and we are working on potential partnerships in Europe and Latin America. Those are not finalized, but we're hopeful that at some point in 2015 we will be able to take MyForce globally.
All right, excellent. And I just saw another question. Do you have to Okay, do you have to have the GPS function on for MyForce to work?
You do. So you have to have your location services turned on. And the research that we've done, and I think all of you would nod your head, is a high percentage of people typically have that location services on, particularly if they're using their maps application to find out where they need to go and get directions and things like that. So most folks do have their GPS or their location services turned on, and you do need to have that on in order for it to work. That is correct.
Okay, great. No, and I don't see any other additional questions. Well, I wanted to thank everybody on behalf of Kappa Kappa Gamma for coming up tonight and listening to Keep Safe with MyForce. And Wes, thank you so much for joining us as well.
Well, thank you for having us. We're pleased. We launched our service, MyForce, with Kappa Kappa Gamma this summer at the convention, the national convention in Houston, and it's a terrific, we're honored to be able to serve you.
Great.
Well, thank you to our presenters and guest speaker Marla and Wes for leading tonight's session. And thank you all, our panelists, for your participation this evening. If you have questions or comments about today's topic, you may email the presenter directly, and I just included Marla's email address right in the chat box on the control panel. If you would like to be more involved in Kappa's virtual training and webinar programs, we would love to have you join our producer team. Please contact Karen Holmes at KKG headquarters for details. The benefits are excellent, and the opportunity to support Kappa's webinar program and obtain a front row seat at a terrific presentation just like tonight's was. As we close the webinar, a survey will open on your screen. You will be prompted to respond to a few evaluation questions. Please take a moment to share your thoughts on tonight's webinar. Your feedback will help us shape future webinar training events. If you have any additional questions or comments whatsoever, please do not hesitate to email Marla Williams at mwilliams@kkg.org. Thank you all so very much. Thanks again to you, Marla and Wes, and have a terrific Monday evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.